We've got the latest Chiefs updates just for you, and I'll be giving you all the details as they happen. So if you want to stay in the loop, make sure you're subscribed to the channel because you don't want to miss out on what's coming. And hit that like button. Okay, let's dive in. This game was important for a few reasons, and despite some early stumbles, the Chiefs bounced back in a big way. Their 7-0 streak continues, and our team remains the only undefeated team in the NFL. There's a lot to unpack, so here are my 4 big takeaways from this Week 8 win. First, let's talk about DeAndre Hopkins' debut as a Chief. This was a move that caught a lot of people by surprise, especially midway through the season. Hopkins isn't in his prime anymore, but the Chiefs saw an opportunity to add depth at wide receiver, and we all know our offense could use a little boost. Hopkins logged about 10 snaps in the first half, and while his stat line was modest, just 2 catches for 29 yards, his impact went beyond the numbers. He helped set things up for Travis Kelce's first-half touchdown and ran a brilliant route that allowed Xavier Worthy to run downfield on a 3rd down attempt. So while the high-volume plays weren't there yet, the quality of the reps were high. As he gets more comfortable with our playbook, we can expect Hopkins to play an even bigger role. Next, let's talk about Patrick Mahomes. It's been a weird season for our QB so far. He's had fewer touchdowns and more interceptions than usual. But in this game against the Raiders, Mahomes looked sharper, more comfortable, and back to his playmaking self. He found a rhythm in the pocket, ran when needed, and used his legs effectively. Remember that big run on 3rd and 12 in the 4th quarter? His numbers for the day were 27 completions, 262 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Nothing that's going to break records, but it's a significant improvement and a positive sign of things to come. It feels like we're seeing the real Patrick Mahomes again, and that's exactly what we need as we continue to push toward another Super Bowl. Now, let's talk about Steve Spagnuolo's defense. The D has been carrying a lot of weight this season, and they're proving they're up to the task. The Raiders really started out strong, with Gardner Minshew making some big plays in the first quarter, but our defense shut them down when it mattered most. The Raiders' rushing attack is one of the worst in the league, and we held them to just 33 yards on 24 carries. Against the pass, George Karlaftis and Tershawn Wharton put on a show with some key sacks that forced the Raiders to settle for field goals and turnovers on downs. Mike Pennell also forced a crucial fumble. So, even though the Raiders started off strong, the Chiefs' defense got the last laugh. Finally, there's a bit of sweet revenge in this win. Last Christmas, the Raiders handed us a tough loss that snapped a 6-game winning streak against them. This was their first time back at Allegiant Stadium since that loss, and Reed and Mahomes came in ready to make things right. Adding this latest win, the Chiefs are now 5-0 at Allegiant Stadium since the Raiders moved to Vegas, tying the most wins at that stadium with none other than former Raiders head coach Josh McDaniels. It's safe to say that Mahomes, Reed, and company have made Allegiant their home away from home. Fans call it the Arrowhead West for a reason, right? With this win, the Chiefs maintain a strong grip on the AFC West and remain undefeated as we approach the midpoint of the season. But the season is far from over, and there are plenty of challenges ahead, starting with the upcoming game against the Bills. Now, I want to hear from you. What do you think of the team's performance? How are you feeling about Hopkins' debut, Mahomes' form, and the defense? After a slow start, Kelce found the end zone for the first time this season in Sunday's big AFC West showdown against the Raiders in Vegas. It happened in the second quarter on a 3rd and goal play when Mahomes hit Kelce with a clean pass, giving us the lead and making the score 14-10 at halftime. For those of you who have been keeping an eye on Kelce's stats, you know it was a surprisingly quiet start for him. Coming into this game, he had just 8 receptions for 69 yards in the first 3 games. But you could sense his involvement was picking up, especially in Week 4 against the Chargers, when he caught a season-high 7 passes for 89 yards after Rashee Rice left the game with a knee injury. Fast forward to Week 5 against the Saints, and Kelce had a season-high 10 targets, catching 9 of them for 70 yards. Still, no touchdowns. Then, last week, he had a bit of a slump against the 49ers, catching just 4 passes for 17 yards in the Chiefs' 28-18 win. And let's be real, there's been a lot of talk about Kelce's performance and even his focus on the game, especially after some dark moments on the sideline in Atlanta. It wasn't just the fans who noticed, the media noticed him, wondering if he was distracted by off-field activities. But here's the thing, this team has never lost faith in itself. Before the Chiefs' matchup with the Chargers, Rashee Rice and the rest of our receivers were spotted wearing jerseys in support of Kelce, showing everyone how much he means to the team. He's been a mentor, especially to young receivers like Rice, and despite a slow start statistically, he's still the heart and soul of this offense. Opposing teams know how dangerous Kelce is, and you can tell by the coverage he's getting. Defenses are all over him, so his lack of touchdowns has been less about his effort and more about being double or even triple covered. Still, with each game, he's been gaining momentum, and now he's back in the end zone as the Chiefs look to win their 3rd consecutive Super Bowl. We're already on a 6-game winning streak, and it looks like Kelce's season is finally picking up steam. So, what do you think, Chiefs fans? Are we about to see Kelce explode for the rest of the season? Or was this just a sign of things to come? Now, let's talk about an issue that may be flying under the radar but could have a big impact as we chase the 3rd straight Lombardi this season, our left tackle situation. Coming off a 7th straight win against the Raiders and maintaining an undefeated record, the Chiefs are riding high, but this latest win brought some important lessons, and yes, some new questions, especially about left tackle Wanya Morris. Despite a solid 27-20 win over Vegas, Morris' performance raised concerns, particularly against an elite pass rusher like Max Crosby. While Morris isn't the only one who struggles against Crosby, we saw a number of mistakes from him that stalled drives and, at one point, were saved by the defense holding the line. The Chiefs entered this season with rookie Kingsley Suamataia receiving the majority of the first-team reps and were hoping to secure that left tackle spot. A 2nd-round draft pick out of BYU, Suamataia showed promise with size, strength, and athleticism, but it was clear he needed more development. That's when the Chiefs switched to Morris, hoping his sophomore experience could add some stability. But after Morris was flagged 3 times in 16 plays against the Raiders, you could see how his lack of experience made him difficult to handle the mental side of facing someone like Crosby. He even let Mahomes take a big hit that left us all holding our breath. Coach Reid stuck with Morris for the rest of the game, signaling that the Chiefs weren't sure if bringing Suamataia in would make a difference against such a high-level pass rusher. And it's worth noting that the team has been strategic, giving Morris and Suamataia chances to develop without rushing them. But we're in the middle of the season, with a big opportunity for history, so these questions about the consistency of our left tackle become increasingly important. Now, the trade deadline is approaching, giving KC time to decide whether to bring in a veteran or stick with these young guys. It's a tricky balance because the futures of Morris and Suamataia could be bright. But as we all know, this isn't just any season, we're looking for something special here. So what do you think, Chiefs fans? Should we stick with Morris and Suamataia and hope they develop in time for the playoffs, or bring in a veteran for extra insurance? Leave a comment below with your thoughts. And don't forget to like and subscribe for all the latest Chiefs updates. Go, Chiefs!